I have another fantastic guest that is joining me, Shobhan Saxena. How you doing, man? You doing okay today?
Morning, Jamal. I'm fine. How are you?
I am doing well, better that you are with me. And just for the audience, Shobhan Saxena, he is an Indian journalist based out of Sao Paulo, Brazil. In a career spanning more than 30 years, he's reported for the Times of India, The Hindu, The Indian Express, and various other publications in India. Right now, he's an international correspondent for DD India, the international channel of India's public broadcast. Thank you for joining me, man. You sent me this article that I'm glad you sent me this article because I didn't necessarily understand what was taking place on the ground when this was happening. So a few weeks ago, out of the blue, seemingly, there was I wake up to gang fights in Brazil. In fact, if it wasn't gang fights, that's putting it poorly. It's more so the police had a police action that ended up seemingly like a huge fight on the very streets where there were bodies effectively laying in alleys, where the police and the gangs ended up in this massive fight. I saw your article on this, and this is right here, just so the audience can see it for themselves. And I will put this at the bottom of the video after, okay, go away, right there. After the gunfire, how Rio deadliest police raid exploded into a political battlefield. Break this down for us. Because I saw this and I didn't understand what was taking place, and I didn't understand why it was taking place at that particular moment.
Yeah, but Jamal, to summarize the story, I think what happened last Tuesday, October 22nd.
Come back to me. Come back to me. Come back to me. Come back. Come back. Okay. He will be back. He will be back. I promise you he'll be back. I have infinite faith. Infinite faith.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. Thank you. Welcome back. Okay, please continue.
Yeah, so last Tuesday, October 28th, there was a mega police operation in these two favelas. The term used by local people now is community, not favelas, which is an old term for slum or shanty town. There was a mega police operation that started at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. And the purpose of the operation, according to the government, the Rio government and police, was to take action against one of the biggest drug gangs in Brazil, called Comando Vermelho, or Red Command. Of course, I mean, you have to remember that this criminal organization operates across the country. It's not just located in those two favelas, but the Rio government's point was that they had a very big operation inside these favelas from where they distribute drugs and control territories. So the police went in on the presumption of arresting people because they had arrest warrants for more than 100 people from a judge, from the Justice Department. But it turned into a police operation. There was a firing from both sides, of course, largely from the police side, and more than 110 people were killed, including four police officers of the Rio police.
I'm sorry to interrupt you real quick. Wait. I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you say more than 100 people were killed in a police operation?
121 in total, including 4 police officers. On the first day, on Tuesday, the government said 64 dead, including 4 police officers. But what happened next day is more interesting, because next morning on Wednesday, the people from these communities, they went to the forest nearby. There's a forested hills nearby, and they found more than 80 bodies there. People shot in the head, people with their throats slit, a couple of young teenagers with their heads decapitated and their heads dangling from trees. And the people of the favela, they found these bodies and they brought these bodies to their community and put them in the main square where they live. And then the government accepted here that the death toll was actually not 64, but it went up to 121 the next day. Now there are two versions here. Can you hear me, Jamal?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. I'm just shocked. That number is That's like a military campaign. That number is
Yeah,
astonishing.
because this is the deadliest police operation in Brazil's history. I mean, of course, the police operation and police going into favelas where mostly poor and black people live is nothing new in Rio. It has happened before. I think it happened during the pandemic when 28 people were killed. The last operation I remember was in another community where 28 people were killed. But
Yeah.
there's a history to it. But this number is so huge, and the people who live there, they're very they're very clear about it. They say it was not a police operation; it was basically a massacre. And now even President Lula has called it a massacre, and he has also ordered an independent inquiry into what really happened. Now, two versions. The Rio governor, who's a right wing.
Okay, he'll be back. He may be having trouble with his internet signal. Um, oh, there you are. Can you hear me, Shoban? You lost the sound. Shoban, can you hear me? I think you might be muted. And I can't unmute you. Yeah, you're muted. At least on mine is showing that you're muted. I'm not sure the kind of mic that you have. Do you want to sign out and sign right back in? Okay. I'm going to let him work that out. Right now, see, he's muted. I saw the story when it happened, and I saw it on the first day where there was a lot of people being killed, and there was another political event that was taking place at the exact same time where Lula was. God, this took place a few weeks ago, but this was taking place at the exact same time that another political event was taking place. And of course, when something like this happens simultaneously, the question becomes, okay, why are these things happening simultaneously? Why are these things happening together? I did not realize that 121 people have been killed in a police raid. That sounds more like a military operation where they're going in and, you know, getting into a larger fight. There we are. Welcome back. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You're not muted, so I think I can hear you if you speak to me. I cannot hear you. Now I can't hear you. But you're not muted. Is your volume up? Give us 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. We're working it up. Tall, she's 10, young and lovely girl from Ipanema goes walking in when she. Okay, he'll be back. Don't put that song in my head. I love that song by Frank Sinatra. Sinatra and the Spanish guy who sings it. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Amy Winehouse has another version of it that's really good too also. But fair enough. That is amazing to me. That many people being killed in one police operation is like, can you really conceive of that in the United States? Like, imagine there's a police operation somewhere in New York or somewhere in California, in the slums in California, and you find out they kill 121 people in a police operation. That is difficult to kind of wrap your mind around. And I know Brazil is a different country, so fair enough, but Jesus Christ, these are human beings. And if they're calling it a massacre, you can kind of see why they're calling it a massacre. Shoban, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. 121 all black, by the way. Yeah, Dr. Rivera, yes. There's that, of course. It's okay. Work it out. I'll let you work it out. I still can't hear you though. And your mic is not muted.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me
There
now?
you are. Now I can hear you. Yes, now I can hear you. Now I can hear you.
Actually, I got a new laptop, so I think there's some configuration problem. So I've just
Oh,
removed
it's
them. Can you hear me now correctly
I can hear
and
you.
clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. No, I can hear you just fine. As somebody who has a finicky mic, I understand your pain. It's like if I touch it, the thing just breaks in a heartbeat, and I'm sitting here trying to get the finical of the device.
I don't know
No, please continue.
who's hacking into
120,
it.
121 dead people in a
100,
police operation, and you were pointing out that the people in the area were calling it a massacre, and Lula is having an investigation in response.
yeah, because such a big numbers, and and the Rio governor claims that they had a mandate to go inside and carry out the operation. But the point is there was no mandate to kill so many people. Now I think this. You can imagine what happened. There's the drug dealers and the gang members. They opened fire, and police retaliated. And we have seen this film many times across the world, and especially in Brazil, this has happened many times. But now, what has happened? It has exploded into a political battlefield. Now you have the Rio governor who belongs to a right-wing party, and he and his fellow travelers on one side, and the federal government led by Lula on the other side. So it has become a very big political issue, a big controversy, and we haven't heard last of this issue, and is likely to grow in the coming months, and especially next year, because Brazil is going to have presidential and an election for governors and Senate and Congress in 2026. So a lot of people are linking the observers and analysts are linking it with next year's election, saying a campaign has already started with this bloody massacre.
Wow. So I know I've said this on more than one occasion. I was there for the covering the elections when Lula was running against Bolsonaro. And I was shocked at how close that election was. When Lula left the first time around, Lula had like an 80% approval rating. And this time around, Lula won by like 1 percentage point. And of course, there were people who were camping out at the military bases, trying to get the military to overthrow the government. I mean, like it was insane, some of the stuff that was taking place. So Lula was always in a political situation where he was it was very close in regards to from the left and to the right in regards to who's going to win that election. What is the thinking of it here? I mean, I would imagine the right wing governor is backing the police on this. When I was there, the police was against Lula for all intents and purposes. They were effectively assisting Bolsonaro and blocking traffic and everything else and blocking voters going to voting locations. How does this affect the election coming up next year? I mean, what is the perspective of the public when they're looking at this number of people being killed, and are they associating it with Lula's government?
So look, Jamal, as I said, timing is everything. That the timing of this operation makes it very, very suspicious. Of course, the independent investigation ordered by the government will find the truth, hopefully, and really find out what happened. But just a couple of days before this operation, Lula was in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where he
Yes.
met Donald Trump. And there he announced that he's going to run for president again in 2026. It was in Malaysia that he announced he's going to run for president. And let me put this in political context. So that was a very big news that Lula is going to run again for a fourth term. Lula's approval ratings have been very high. According to all opinion polls, he's beating everyone in the election, next year's election. And the chances, according to some opinion polls, that he can win the election, maybe in the first round itself, because Brazilian election it happens in two rounds. If no candidate gets 50% votes in the first round, this goes to second round. So the chances he may win in the first round itself. The economy is doing really, really well. The inflation, the prices are low, and the wages are rising. So people are really happy with this government. So in this scenario, and also Bolsonaro, he has been already been convicted for plotting a coup against Lula's government, and probably the chances that he may go to jail in the coming weeks, it's possible. So look at the scenario. Lula, very popular, chances of winning the election, and the leader of the right wing, Jair Bolsonaro, going to jail. So the right basically doesn't have an issue, a political issue to talk about. And also, they don't have a leader because if Jair Bolsonaro goes to jail, he's already been barred from running from office. They'll be in a jam. So, political observers here feel that this is an attempt by right wing to to bring back the spotlight to issues of crime and what they call narco terrorism and shift away focus from Lula, what Lula is doing for economy, Lula's popularity, and put Lula in a spot with his allegations that he has been soft on crime. Because no, there has been allegation that the left wing is always soft on crime, they did the police action, which is not really true because there are many states here ruled by left wing workers' party where also the police can be brutal at times, and people are killed. So this is not really true. But they're trying to create a narrative and trying to link it with the bigger narrative of narco terrorism, which is coming from Donald Trump, Washington D.C. You know what's happening in Venezuela.
Yes.
Boats are being blown up, and we don't know who is being killed. Mostly innocent fishermen, people traveling or doing some whatever they're doing are being killed. So I think this is what's happening. And soon after this police operation, the Rio governor and another four governors, they made a consortium. They call it Peace Consortium. The idea is to fight, according to them, launch a war on narco terrorism inside Brazil. So I think the Lula's party and people on the left, they have sensed that what is coming, and they have taken certain actions. Lula has already signed a new law which will go to the Congress, which will give federal government more powers to how to dismantle this criminal organization. Mind you, Jamal, these criminal organizations are notorious. There's no doubt about that. There's Red Command and there's another one called PCC. They're notorious. They run the drug trade. It's an open secret. The problem here is police going into a community without any warning and starting kind of war in which the innocent people who live there, they get caught in the crossfire.
Yeah.
That is a big problem. And you're killing people instead of arresting them. I mean, they had a mandate to arrest them. It's fine. You arrest people, take them to the court, and there's a judicial process that is fine. But going into community and having a this kind of
Executions.
firing which goes for hours, armored vehicles and bulletproof vehicles and drones and this and that. I mean, this is as one of the leaders of the community, he said these things even don't happen in Gaza. I mean, he said that on television. I heard it. So this is a serious issue. But as you know, I mean, crime, as in the U.S., Brazil, is a sensitive issue, especially the middle class. They're very sensitive to it, and they always blame the government for not doing enough, and it doesn't matter to them. If 100 people are killed or 50 people are killed, they don't really care. It's for them a criminal. You brand someone criminal and kill them, and that's it. That's what exactly has happened. So it's a delicate situation for the Lula government. They've sensed it, and I'm sure they're working on it. But I think we're going to see a very acrimonious debate on this issue and some actions in the coming months and in the year.
But is the public really is the public really okay with the killing? I don't believe so the belief is that the police every shot killed the drug dealer. Is that can't be the belief, right? Like it can't be the thought that every bullet that they fired that hit somebody and killed somebody, that person was a drug dealer. Which means that the police killed a lot of innocent people in the process of that particular raid as they went through and effectively had a war. You end up losing four police. And do they believe that the killing or the loss of the four police was part of the reason that they ended up killing so many people in the first place? Meaning, do
There
they
was a
link those two things together?
there was a boy, 19-year-old, not a boy, teenager, and he sent a message to his mother on the phone that he had surrendered to the police. Okay, and next day they found his body without his head.
That's what I mean.
His head was dangling on a tree, and many of them people who were shot in the head. Their throats had been slit.
They're
So
executed.
it looks like they had already surrendered to the police or given up, but yet they were killed. So this looks more like extrajudicial killings. I mean, Brazil, like US, is very polarized society, and it depends on whom you ask, whether it's a police operation or it's a massacre. If you go to those communities, the favela residents, you ask them, they say it was a massacre. No doubt about it. Even President Lula has called it a massacre, you know. But if you ask the people in the government in Rio or right wing, they say it was a police operation. We went inside, the criminals opened the fire, and we retaliated, and they got killed. But
I know,
to open
but how does it?
fire in such
No,
a, if you go to the shanty towns, you might have seen they're very densely populated.
yes.
There's no space for anything. People living very close to each other. Even if there's a gang operating from inside and you open fire, there are chances the bullets are going to hit innocent people. We have seen horrible videos of people hiding in their houses, lying on the floor, children screaming, women. It was really terrible for the people who lived there. So I think there is, I mean, if you talk to people in the human rights organizations or NGOs, they're very clear about it. This is not the way you conduct a police operation in a densely populated area. You need to arrest the people who are responsible and take them to court and let law take its course.
I guess what I'm getting at is how does the governor, for example, justify the slitting of somebody's throat? How do you
Oh,
justify that?
yeah. Governor's line is very clear. He's saying he's having a war. He's launching a war against narco terrorism. That's his line. His popularity is low. He's facing a corruption case in a court, and the chances that he may be barred from running for public office in the future very soon. So I think it's not just it's police action, it's a politics, the election coming next year. Everybody
So many.
knows that he wants to run for Senate next year, the governor. You know, because in a polarized society, where one section of the society, mostly middle class and also mostly white, they feel that government, has to be tough, and they don't really care about who gets killed. So many people get killed in the U.S. every year, and I don't think of course, there was a Black Lives Matter and all that movement, but if you ask a middle class person, they said, "Why, criminals have to be killed." I
Yeah, a
mean,
lot of
or
them will be okay with it. I guess one thing is it's one thing as bad as it is. It's one thing for the police to go in and get into a shooting match with a gang. Okay, I get that kind of. It's another thing when it's people have their throat slits and their heads chopped off. And it's like, okay, well, that's something else.
yeah,
Like that's not police go into an area, end up in a shooting match, and quote unquote accidentally kill people because they're so densely packed. That
yeah.
is, they capture, they're angry, and they cut off heads, or at the very least shoot people in execution style. And the government saying, hey man, you got to crack some eggs.
And
That's
the
a
government
different
even
animal.
And yeah, on Tuesday, on the day of the operation, they didn't even announce that. They said the number of deaths was 64. They said it's only when the people from the community they went to the forest, they found these bodies and brought them to the community and put them in the main square in front of the office of the
Wow.
association. And there's a horrible, I mean, a beautiful in a sense, but horrible photo taken by Reuters using a drone. There's a line of 80 corpses lying side by side, shirtless young boys, with a
Jesus.
bullet in the head. So, I mean, and then the government, tried to cover it up by giving a different, oh, they were killed by, maybe they killed by gangs or they were killed by, we don't know what happened, and, trying to whitewash the whole thing. But now I think since an independent inquiry has been announced, I think there are chances the truth will come out. But what has happened here in Brazil over the years, this militarization of police, like in the US also, the police is heavily militarized. In fact, there's like something called military police here. For me, when I came here, it was a surprise. In coming from India, military police is a police within the military compounds. That is
Right.
called military police. But here, the military police operates among civilians. You know,
Interesting.
yeah. There's
So
a yeah. They
Lula
call
is going to be forced to fight on this issue then, meaning he's going to do the economic thing and everything else, but for all intents and purposes, he is being dragged to this issue of having to also now say, well, I'm also tough on crime. I'm not weak on this issue, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
Meaning he's not going to
yeah,
have a choice but to have a fight on this issue.
yeah. I think they're trying to force his hand. I mean, when you have this kind of event, and there's such a debate in the country, the president will be forced to do something. And he has announced a new bill, but he's also announced an independent inquiry. Because, mind you, the people who live there in these favelas are mostly poor, working
Mhm.
class, and mostly black or mixed race people. And they generally tend to vote for
Lula.
Workers' Party,
Right.
So you have to be very sensitive about them. I mean, you can't Lula or can't afford to alienate poor people. So I think this is the what the Rio governor is doing is basically making use of this polarization within the country to boost his chances or chances of other right-wing people. They will all come together. They made a consortium. And one of the ministers in the government, Guilherme Bolos, he called it a Trump consortium and not a peace consortium because what they're putting on the agenda of
Got it.
narco-terrorism is
Yeah.
basically Trump's agenda in South America. And we have to actually look in the bigger picture, what's happening in Venezuela, what's happening in Mexico, this whole idea of, a domination of the Western Hemisphere,
And they're feeding
American
into it.
interference. We can't
Yeah.
ignore it. I mean, and they're completely oblivious to this problem. Actually, they're playing a very very dangerous game by talking about narco terrorism,
Well,
and it's really
they don't seem to be oblivious. They seem to be leaning. I mean, let's be honest. Bolsonaro was a Trump clone, right? I
yes,
mean, he
yeah.
was everything that Trump wanted to be, and vice like he effectively emulated Trump all the way through, even to the point of saying, "Well, the elections are fake." The difference is you have different laws in Brazil where you can't necessarily get away with doing it, whereas in the United States you can run for office again after trying to overthrow the government of the United States. I guess my thing is they seem to be staying with the same playbook. Hey, Trump is talking about narco terrorism in Venezuela and in Colombia, and Lula has come out decrying what Donald Trump is effectively doing, murdering people in the Caribbean. So, hey, let's lean into this idea of the narco terrorism thing. Maybe we'll get some press in the context of the United States. Maybe Trump will say something about it. Maybe. Meaning they've decided politically that this is the lightning in the bottle that they're effectively going with to go after Lula.
And
That's
yeah, very interesting, Jamal. Sorry to cut in. Countries
no,
like Paraguay and Bolivia, they have declared these gangs, Brazilian gangs, as narco terrorists too. So they said
yeah.
we don't want. So I think the strategy is to isolate Brazil in the region, especially because we have a lot of right-wing governments in the region trying to isolate Brazil. And within the country, you as you said correctly, the same playbook, Trump playbook, you know, uh, talk about narco terrorism, isolate the government, shift the focus, and then we're going to witness some let's say very dirty politics in the coming months.
You don't think that I was telling the audience when you were getting the sound thing straight that I remember this was taking place at the exact same time that there was a major political event, international political event that Lula was attending, and I couldn't remember what it was. Thank you for mentioning it. Was Kuala Lumpur that Lula was at when this was taking place. And I kept thinking to myself, I was like, "Whoa, this is wild that both of these things are happening simultaneously," because usually that's very coincidental, right? It's like Lula is at a major event and you have this major police action where all of these people are getting killed at the exact same time that Lula is at the political event. Now, you can call it a coincidence. I believe in coincidences. I don't really trust coincidences. And so you don't think that they did this on purpose? Like they went in with the idea of murdering a lot of people in order to create a political firestorm around this issue? Or do you think it was? I mean, granted, there's no way for you to know it's a flat fact, but you've been covering Brazilian politics, and I would imagine police in Brazil also, especially the right wing tilt of the police force. Do you think that this was intentional or it was happenstance?
Yeah, I think, as I said, the timing is everything. Lula was actually on his way back from Malaysia to Brazil. He was in the air when the police operation happened. And surprisingly, I heard on television, Lula didn't know it because the plane he was traveling on doesn't have internet. I couldn't
Right.
believe it. The presidential plane doesn't have internet. I mean, it's unbelievable for me, you know. But he didn't know about it. In fact, he didn't know about it till he landed, or probably till he entered the Brazilian airspace. So this operation takes place just a couple of days after Lula announces that he's going to run for president again, and police operation takes place when he's out of the country. And so, and when such operations take place, generally of this scale, there has to be some coordination between the state government and federal government. Now, there's a
Right.
big controversy. The federal government has categorically said they didn't know about it, but the Rio governor, he said on cameras that he had informed the federal government about it. So there's a controversy going on. Of course, next day on the after the operation, the Justice Minister, a former Supreme Court Judge Lewandowski, he went to Rio and he stood by the side of the Rio governor, and he made it very clear Brazil's position on narco terrorism. He said terrorism has a definition, and crime is something else. Terrorists have an ideology, they control territory, but a crime is something which is done, which is treated by the penal code across the world. We know it. And he made the position of the federal government very clear. But, as I said, timing of this thing is very suspicious. And,
Yes.
and we're going to see more. I think the fear is that this can spread to other states. Because if they have formed a consortium, 5 states, we can see maybe similar police operations in other states. And with more people being killed, I think, the ordinary people, if you talk to, they don't know who's ordering these operations. Is the city government or the state government
A
or
federal.
the federal government? So, I mean, so some of them can also blame the federal government
Lula
for it.
company.
One of the surveys came out, and a majority of the people blamed the state government, but more than 30% people blame Lula's government for this police action.
Wow.
So this it's not very black and white. It's a complicated situation, and I think, of course, with COP30 happening in Brazil starting next Monday for 10 days, it's again a delicate situation. But I think before the COP or during the COP or after the COP, I think government is going to um, eh, have some kind of communication strategy to convey a message to the people about this. And I think with keeping that in mind, the government has ordered an independent inquiry because they would like the truth to come out. They would like to tell the people who ordered the police operation, how it was carried out, and all about this, the executions and massacre. I think there's people also need to know, and I think the government also needs to clarify their position and make sure, more importantly, that this doesn't happen again in the next 1 year. Because the Brazil has a federal structure. The
Mhm.
governors and the mayors are very, very independent. They don't depend on the president or the federal government for any
Action.
instructions. They don't need approval, so they can do a lot of damage on their own, by carrying out police operations, and so that can further polarize. As I said before, the issue of crime and drugs is a very, very sensitive issue, and it's a serious problem in Brazil. You can't deny that.
Yeah.
These drug gangs are notorious, and they also torture people and they do all kind of things. And basically, they keep the poor population of these favelas hostage, and they can't do anything. And there's a lot of corruption. There's a off-duty police officers working with them. So it's really a messy situation, and everyone has, especially the government, has to really work very seriously to get out of this mess.
Shobhan, fantastic reporting. You do damn good work, man. Thank you for this. Fantastic. Absolutely great breakdown. Shobhan Saxena. He's an Indian journalist based out of Sao Paulo, Brazil. In a career spanning more than 30 years, he's reported for the Times of India, The Hindu, The Indian Express, and various other publications in India. Right now, he is an international correspondent for DD India, the international channel for India's public broadcaster. Shobhan, great job, man. Keep up the good work. Thank you for
Thanks
this.
very much, and sorry for the glitch. It's yeah.
Dude, you're going to apologize for that. No, I appreciate
Yeah.
you joining me. You be safe, okay? Have
Thank
a
you.
good day. Bye bye.
Thank you so